me, I'll introduce myself anyway. My name is Anthony Rico. I've been a lifeguard in this village for 6 years. I graduated Yale University.
This is not your biography.
He's got Mr.
He's got to speak. Listen to me.
That's not right. That's not right. He's establishing his credibility.
Listen to me. Don't discuss salary. Village only. So if he wants to say whatever he's going to say, he can say it. I'm just telling you in advance that this is not something we usually do.
I noticed.
In fact, we've never done that. So if you're all here for that, and we have some time, go ahead. You can say what you want to say. No one's shutting down.
Well, thank you. I noticed that nobody else was interrupted while they were speaking. I will also be entering the Air Force at the end of August as an officer.
Yeah.
Last year, for the first time in the village's history, lifeguards' lunch hour pay was withheld. I have here a petition signed by 461 residents with a vested interest in the health and safety of this village. Among the 461 are current and former village trustees, former Rockaway lifeguards, police officers, firefighters, not to mention the residents and employees of this village. Many of you are here today. My fellow lifeguards have passed around a single sheet with some of the reasons we believe the reinstatement of our lunch hour pay is justified, and I will be summarizing what you are holding. First, let me stress that lifeguarding at its core is an emergency service. Just asked Chief Lifeguard John Madden. He mentioned that we had 15 rescues and 2 assists, and we're only 2 weeks into the summer. Now, how does the pay for others in the emergency services work? Since police are always on call, they are paid for their meal period. It doesn't matter if police are patrolling Harlem, the Upper East Side, or Mayberry, they are paid for their meal period. Firefighters are always on call. They are paid for their meal period. Lifeguards are always on call. Yet, as of last year, we are not paid for our meal period. And again, it's the first time in the village's history that that's occurred. Former Chief Lifeguard Morgan Lander stated that he could not even recall how many times he has had to personally drop his lunch to address an issue on the beach, to address an emergency. He couldn't possibly have looked at his watch and said, I have 20 minutes left of lunch to tell the missing kids' parents that I'll see them then. Absolutely not. If I could bring your attention to the second bullet point on the sheet, federal law states that for a meal period to be unpaid, it must be uninterrupted by work. Otherwise, it must be paid. There is no seasonal employee exemption to this law. This is why the lifeguards at Silver Point and Sun and Surf are paid for the 4 hours they are not working in an 8-hour day. Let me repeat that. Their lifeguards are paid for 8 hours, but only work a maximum of 4 hours since their work schedule is 1 hour on, 1 hour off. But they are paid because they are always on call. Lifeguards, like police and firemen, are not necessarily paid for what they do. They are paid for what they might have to do. You may be asking why they are given a paid 1-hour break after each hour of work. Allow me to point your attention to the paragraph in italics on the handout. Research by the United States Lifesaving Association has shown that after only 1/2 hour, vigilance declines. Lifeguards cannot possibly be expected to look at the ocean for 8 hours a day and be 100% focused 100% of the time. It's beyond the scope of human capacity, according to the research and evidence that the United States Lifesaving Coalition puts out. You already know that the Silver Point Sun Surf are working for 4 hours and getting paid for 8. What about some of the other clubs and municipalities? If you reference the table on the handout, you will notice that Silver Point, Sun and Surf, Westbury, Sunny Atlantic, Clearwater, Plaza Club, the Sands, Atlantic Beach Club, Inwood, Long Beach, the town of Hempstead, the city, Jersey, Rockaway, all these lifeguards are not only paid for their lunch break, but any warranted break they take throughout the day to reset vigilance. We can also speak on this issue from Chief Lifeguard John Madden's perspective, which is a competitive hiring basis. Before it was known that the village was not paying for their lunch hour, which is last year, we received over 100 applications for lifeguards. This year we received a total of 38. By contrast, Silver Point has 38 lifeguards currently for their 2 ocean stands. We have 8 beaches and we barely have more than 30. We've already had 1 lifeguard leave for another organization, and the majority of our lifeguards return to school in August, so won't be around for the end of the season. Last year, by Labor Day, we had 7 lifeguards, 7 for 8 beaches. With 7 guards for 8 beaches, we were forced to shut down 5 of our 8 beaches for the residents for swimming. In fact, we are already short on lifeguards with the minimum 2 guards at stands like Jefferson and Montgomery. Those guards are often forced to be there for the entire day without any hope of relief. Chief Lifeguard John Madden has expressed an interest in hiring older lifeguards that would be able to stay throughout the day. But once he tells potential hires that we don't get paid for lunch, and that, by the way, longevity increases or raises have not been honored in 4 years, lifeguards seek work elsewhere. Even if our starting hourly wage is competitive relative to neighboring clubs, the vast majority of our lifeguards are making less than what they were making when they started. My brother is a 4-year lifeguard here. He's making less than what he was making 4 years ago because his lunch hour pay was removed and there hasn't been a longevity increase or raise in 4 years. Not to mention that there is no opportunity for advancement or financial incentive to do a good job in hopes of securing a longevity raise or increase. So I'll briefly summarize this. There are no raised positions other than the 3 chief lifeguard, assistant chief, and lieutenant. Chief Lifeguard Madden expressed an interest in appointing a senior guard at each beach. Perhaps I could be held responsible for that beach and also accountable for that beach. So they would also obviously get paid financial incentives in their paychecks for that responsibility. Currently, there is no merit-based position such as that exists. There is no financial incentive for lifeguards to do a good job, although I would argue that we do an excellent job. And our lunch hour pay is removed, even though all those clubs in that handout and all the municipalities get paid for lunch, not only lunch, but any warranted break they take throughout the day. In closing, the lifeguards would like to thank the mayor, the board, and the residents for your time, and we look forward to following up on this issue. Thank you. I was hired in 2006.
What month this year did you hire?
May or June?
And in May or June, did you know what the salary was?
Yes,
Did you know what the working condition terms were?
absolutely.
Did you take the job?
I come here for the benefit of the residents of this
I want
village.
you to know that I asked Long Beach. I asked the town of Hampstead. The town of Hampstead and Long Beach do not pay for lunch hours. What they do is, first of all, it all sounds very nice. Okay? It all sounds very nice, and it's a very popular thing to do. And it would be very nice if every board said, you know what, that's fine, I'm going to give you what you want. But we have a budget. We're a municipality. We set our budget. We set our budget. We have to account for our residents' money. Okay? Take it under advisement as to what you want for your lunch next day. What is it?
The only comments I